Good evening, everybody. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for former student Ryan Weatherwax, former student Paul Gaston, and Joseph Bonds, retired administrator, who passed away in 9/6/21. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Uh, 3.02, Spotlight and Program. Dr. Watkins, it's all yours.
Great, thank you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to once again showcase our students and the great things that they are doing. So this evening, we're really fortunate to have a Royce Ketchum student with us, Miss Mandy Zhang, and she has been working with various projects. Her latest one is the STEMists, as you can see on the screen. She's also been a student member of our school counseling advisory committee, and she also worked with her club in RCK on a fire safety prevention that she worked on with the committee. But tonight she's going to be talking to us, as I said, as an RCK student, 11th grader this year, and a nonprofit STEM initiative that she put together over the summer. And she's also working with Mr. Panzer on hopefully doing something in the coming months with our students throughout the year. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Mandy Zhang.
Thank you, Dr. Watkins, for the intro. As said before, I'm Mandy Zhang, and I started this nonprofit organization to help students further their curiosity for innovation, because I think that's really important. And I think we have the first slide over here. Can we go on to the second slide? Yes, so at age 15, I started this nonprofit STEM initiative, basically creating the next generation of STEMists for a better future. And we can go on to the next slide. So our mission statement is that we're dedicated to reimagining and advancing STEM education by providing innovative interactive programs to a globally diverse community of young STEM change makers, thinkers, leaders, and innovators. And we can go on to the next one. So on the first day of our summer program, we taught students the aerodynamic factors and the physics of NASA rockets. They learned how the fin shape and nose of the rocket played a major role in the height and velocity of the launch. And after, we guided them through the process of innovation, and they took that knowledge to construct bottle rockets and launch them into the sky. And we can go on to the next one. On the second and third day, we taught students the forces of boat buoyancy and created tie-dye shirts. Students innovated their own boats out of recyclable materials and learned that their boats will continue to float as long as the force of buoyancy is greater than the force of gravity. And we added the pennies as weights to see how much cargo their boat can hold. And the students kind of made a little competition between each other to see just how many cargo their boats can hold. And here are some more photos from day 2 and 3. These are students from Spackenkill, Poughkeepsie Central School District, and our own district. And on the fourth day, students from grades K through 6 constructed a walking tin can robot and a robotic spider that climbs walls. And students in grades 7 through 8 worked as a team to build a moving robot board that was powered by solar power. And they also learned the different shapes and designs that goes behind architectural engineering and apply the concepts to build gummy bear structures. On the fifth day, we taught students the forces that act on parachutes, and they constructed their own that they could take home. We had an egg drop contest where our students innovated a device to keep their raw egg intact after dropping it from 10 feet. And they also learned that the strength and stability of certain bridges are determined by the shape and type of bridge that it is and the materials used to make them. And here's some testimonials from parents. There's lots of parents, and there's also some students that wrote some testimonials, and they all had really positive reviews from our program. And you can go to the next slide. And for the future programs and events, so I'm working with my team, which is kind of several high schoolers, on creating new projects and events in the Hudson Valley. And our 2021 fall program will be offered at the Boardman Road Branch Library, and also I'm working with Grinnell Library on doing these monthly activities and STEM workshops for younger kids. And I'm also working with Mr. Panzer to host a STEAM Day on November 8th for the elementary, middle school, and high schools in our district. And I think that's about it. And to close that off, I wanted to say thank you for your time and commitment to supporting STEM education.
Mandy, I'd like to compliment you and the program. I think if we get a chance to look at the testimonials by parents as well as students, it's exciting. And I think if education takes that particular approach, we have geniuses in all our classrooms. So thank you for your work, and please continue with it. Eddie?
I want to echo that and congratulate you, Mandy. I think this is fantastic, taking the initiative at such a young age. And I got to tell you, you don't sound like a junior. You sound like a very professional young woman with that presentation. So that's a fantastic job. I just got a quick question just to clarify. Are you looking at expanding, when you said your team, with students from other neighboring districts to grow this program?
Yes, that we are working with multiple school districts across the Dutchess County.
I know we have 13 districts. Is that a plan to, for starters, to include all 13 districts within your program?
Yes, and we're also working on expanding it to Beacon, New York, because a lot of parents from there also really wanted our program.
That's great. I think maybe you might want to send an email to our superintendent, who belongs to the Lower Hudson Superintendents Council and has many relationships with many superintendents in many districts. So he could be a good resource to help you expand your program with other school districts and not just within the county. Just a suggestion.
That would be great.
Great job.
Are there any other comments? Well, thank you very much, Mandy. Good luck in your junior year.
Thank you.
Mandy, we're very proud of you. Great work.
Thank you, Dr. Bong.
Thank you.
Great job.
4.01, a public comment on agenda items. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to listen to public comment. Although state law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from the community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designated to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect board members to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will have the proper staff member get back to you as appropriate. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy law, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would ask you to go to the appropriate administrative channels. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow the public for public comment on agenda items only. Public comments at the beginning of the period is limited only to items on the agenda. Persons who wish to participate in public comment portion of the meeting are asked to provide their name and a specific agenda item about which they wish to speak. Individual comments on agenda items limited to 3 minutes and are welcomed. If you wish to address items relating to our school district, they're not on tonight's agenda. Another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. In the interest of civility relating to our school district that are not on tonight, in the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, or any disturbance or disruption during either public comment period is not permitted. At this time, comment related to agenda items are welcome. Alberta, are there any comments from the community that were written and they want us to listen to?
Yes, I do have some comments, board members, for agenda items.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. This comment is from Gordon Cook regarding agenda 8.02 mask mandate and 5.01 superintendent update. I am writing to encourage the school board to adopt the proposed mask mandate policy. It is important that we do everything we can in our community to slow and stop the spread of COVID, which is currently very high in our area, especially among the unvaccinated population that most of our children are part of. I also request that the school board amend the proposal by adding to it a policy directing the superintendent to actually enforce this mandate, as well as enforcing existing requirements within the schools and reviewing guidelines to ensure the district actually follows them or informs parents which ones are not being followed. I would like to ask the superintendent to please inform us during his update how many teachers are unvaccinated, and please confirm too is that they are all were tested as required by the state mandates. We are over a week into school and all faculty are required to be vaccinated or tested weekly. If the district has not made this mandatory or not done it, please explain why. Since the state website is not active yet, how many total cases of COVID have there been so far? Not just the ones you email us about, all.
Was that an agenda, any of that agenda related? Because this is all agenda related,
Yes,
right?
it is.
So vaccines are on the agenda?
No, but the resolution is on the agenda, which talks about masks. Okay, Alberta, next.
The next comment is from Maureen Stefano. Mask mandate is her topic. Your proposed resolution about requiring everyone at public meetings to wear a mask isn't the only option and certainly is an overreach of this board's governing authority and duties. You could have simply instructed children under 18 to dial in remotely. In addition, the governor's guidance always allowed adults to decide about mask wearing if vaccinated. So you should not have dismissed everyone at the last board meeting. Only children should have been asked to leave. Another issue is that virtual board meetings work as well as remote learning does for most people. When parents have an issue that want to be able to speak to someone in person, at this time, it is appropriate for the Board of Education to acknowledge this and consider an end game to the mask mandate, or at least stay out of it. You have the pictures on WCSD Facebook page of a retirement celebration from late last June of 95 staff members, where the board president doesn't even have a mask on and is shaking people's hands. What has truly changed since last June? Vaccinated people are as safe today as they were last June. Will next June be all of a sudden appropriate not to wear a mask again? And why isn't the resolution tied to a logical metrics like cases in the school? This is about rules for thee and not for me.
Thank you.
That's the end of the comments on agenda items.
Thank you very much, and those two individuals. 4.02 recognition comments by Board of Education members. Is there anyone who wants to make any comments? Peggy? You have to have the sound. Your sound is off.
Yes, all right. I did want to speak about Mr. Lumia and my attendance at the New York State School Boards Association Board Officer Training up in Albany, in Latham. It was very valuable. They discussed roles and responsibilities of board officers, how to be more effective, how to work together as a board more effectively, superintendent's evaluations. And they also discussed the state initiative on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they explained, and it was brought out, that diversity is not just a matter of race. There are many kinds of diversity. We have many different ethnic groups in every community in New York, whether it's Irish, Italian, German, Chinese, African American, Native American, Filipino, and et cetera, et cetera. And that every racial group also has diversity within it. That we're also speaking about the diversity of people with different abilities and talents from different socioeconomic groups, from many, many, many areas. And the idea is to recognize the diversity and make sure that everyone has an equitable opportunity in education. Equity is not exactly the same as equality. It's making sure everyone has a fair shake. For example, they gave the example of children trying to look over a fence at a baseball game, and different, if they're all standing on the ground, the tallest one can see, but the shorter ones can't. If you make sure everybody has a box they can stand on, or if instead of the stockade fence, you have a chain link fence, then everybody can see and take part. And this is in the true tradition of America, which has always been a haven for many people from all around the world. Sometimes we have not lived up to our ideals and treated everyone equally or well, but that's always been the aspiration. And that's the idea behind diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Peggy, I could not have said any better. That's why I asked you to get a summary. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Great summary, Peggy. Thank you.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. I want to congratulate the John Jay Future Farmers of America Club for being highlighted locally in an article written in the special Dutchess County Fair edition of the Southern and Northern News. Congratulations to the students for being crowned grand champions in senior Alpine Doe and grand champions in junior Alpine Doe. Those who receive best in show in various categories. Today, the club had the first meeting, and already there were 37 students who were very much interested. As you may know, this academic program at John Jay could lead to many fields of study, such as business of farming, animal science, and other aspects of science. The Board of Education would also like to congratulate the members of the J Robots, that is the Robotics Club, for receiving a $20,000 grant from the Dutchess County Play Create program. We wish you continued success. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Colonel Markey for conducting the 9/11 ceremony prior to the John Jay football game. I want to thank him for presenting the flag commemorating 9/11. Thanks also to County Executive Mark Molinaro and State Senator Susarino for their participation. And with that, are there any other comments? John? Mr. Morgan?
Thank you, President Lumia. I also wanted to recognize retired Colonel Glenn Markey, the father of two district graduates who are both in college right now, for organizing the September 11th Never Forget Flag presentation. I thought it was an outstanding presentation. And I also just want to recognize that based on where Elaine and I were standing, we were right near the John Jay student section. And I think it really reflects how well done the ceremony was, that the students were so extremely respectful without prompting from the faculty, that they self-policed, so to speak, being respectful and understood the gravity of the presentation. It was extremely well done. Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you, John. 6.01, does anybody want to remove any item from the agenda? I don't see.
John, can we have the superintendent report 5.01?
Oh, you're right, Keith. Super.
Not Keith, but I did have a comment.
Make you forget about his report.
Thank you for
President Lumia.
Go ahead.
I just want to make a quick comment. I just wanted to congratulate. The first 2 days of school was a challenge with the buses, but I wanted to congratulate Dr. Bonk and the senior staff, the bus department. especially the students and the parents. We got through it really quickly, and ever since Monday, everything has been running much better. So thank you. I know it's a lot of bus drivers, a lot of new situations, but thank you for working so hard over the weekend to get things back really quickly, things back to normal. Thank you.
Keith, excellent. I wish I thought of that myself. And with that, 5.01, Superintendent's report. Dr. Bunk, it's all yours.
Good evening, President Lumia, Vice President Kellen, members of the Board of Education, and members of the Wappinger Central School District community. I bring you my report tonight from two perspectives. The first perspective is the educational perspective. The second perspective is the public health perspective. So needless to say, we had a very positive start to the school year throughout our 15 schools within the district. It was great to see all of our students back in the classroom, and boy, were they happy to be there, and we were happy to have them there on a regular schedule, 5 days per week. The staff greeted our students warmly, and I'd like to thank all of our staff who worked tirelessly over the summer to prepare for the 2021 school year, 2021-22 school year. I also want to be very, very clear. This is not last year. Yes, we are having some issues, and I'll talk about those in the public health perspective. But in addition to being in person 5 days per week on a regular schedule, we continue to have all of our extracurricular clubs and activities functioning. We know those are vital for our students, in addition to our athletic and our performing and fine arts programs. Prior to the start of the school year, the district held 3 superintendent's conference days. And for those who wonder what that means, they really should be called district days. They're really not superintendent's conference days, but nonetheless, we had principals, assistant principals, directors, and lead teachers focused on professional development, on creating student-centered schools in which creating welcoming and supportive environments and providing targeted instruction and interventions for all learners was at the forefront of the sessions. The sessions incorporated the district and board goals of accelerating student learning while addressing academic recovery and learning gaps and placing a strong emphasis on the social and emotional well-being of our students. From a public health perspective, since September 10th, the district has had 15 positive COVID cases, which have impacted our schools. In speaking with the Department of Health, we can rest assured that our schools are as safe as possible and that we are currently employing the required mitigation strategies that are currently required, as the transmission occurring in our schools is very minimal. We remain committed to providing the safest environment possible for our students and staff to be able to continue our regular 5-day in-person instructional schedule. As we have done during the course of this year and last year, we will continue to update the entire Wappingers community when a positive case that impacts one of our schools is identified. And with that, I would like to thank the community for their support of our district and the support of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bunk, for your comments. And now we're going to 6.01, consent agenda resolution. Does anyone want to remove any item from the agenda? I don't see everybody, so I can't tell. All right. Anyone?
Okay.
Seeing none. Peggy?
Okay, all right. I need the agenda. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, and 6.08.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Marie Johnson. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, Carrie?
No, Carrie didn't vote yet. Yes.
I think she voted just now, right? Unanimous? All right, 7.01, New York State Board Association Area 9 Director Election. Peggy?
Okay. Resolved that the Wappinger Central School District Board of Education does hereby select blank as candidate for the New York State School Boards Association Area 9 Director. We need to decide on which candidate. Please select one candidate from the list below for the position of Area 9 Director on the New York State School Boards Association Board of Directors. The 2-year term will run from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023. The deadline for ballot submission is 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 30th, 2021. The two candidates are John Redmond of Florida, New York, and John Burns of Ellenville, New York. The board received letters from the two candidates.
All those in favor of John Redmond?
Wait a minute, I'd like discussion. Mr. Lumia?
Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, I'd just like to say, I do not know Mr. Burns, but I do know Mr. Redmond, and he's been doing a very good job on the New York State School Boards Association Board. He's quite responsive whenever there's been a question by board members from his area. He's followed up on them regularly.
Any other comments for the other candidate? We both read their summary, they sent us letters, and I hope all of us read them. And with that being said, all those in favor of John Redmond, please raise your hands.
Aye, Michael McFarland.
Peggy Kelland, John Morgan.
Aye.
Keith Odoms, Jim Spencer. Okay, all those in favor of John Burns, Eddie, Marie, and Carrie. So John Burns, John Redmond would be the candidate, so voted upon. All right, 7.02. Peggy?
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District does hereby deny the bus stop appeal request for student ID 1114869 and student ID 1117365.
Motion? John Morgan, secondly, Keith Odoms. All those in favor?
Quick comment.
Yes, sir.
I think the student IDs both should start with 101 rather than 11, just for clarity's sake. It's written correctly, but I
Did I say it wrong? I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's 101.
1014869 and
Yep.
101.
I think we all know it was up on the screen, but the zero was omitted.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye, Michael McFarland.
Unanimous. Carrie? Unanimous. 7.03 bus stop appeal. Peggy?
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District does hereby deny the bus stop appeal request for student ID 1009341.
Motion?
Moved.
Marie, second?
Just,
Jim?
did she say deny?
Yes, denied.
Denied. Okay.
Second, Jim Spencer. Discussion? Motion? All those in favor?
Michael McFarland, aye.
Aye. Carrie? No, okay. 8-1. Next appeal, 7.04. Peggy?
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District does hereby deny the bus stop appeal request for student ID 1012438.
Motion?
So moved.
Marie, Peggy, second. All those in favor?
Michael McFarland, aye.
Okay. All opposed? All opposed? Carrie, opposed, okay. Once again, 8-1. Okay. 8.01, designate board members to a report on building tours. I'd like to appoint two, I don't think to read anything, I'd like to appoint two people who are part of the Capital Improvement Committee, Marie Johnson, as well as Mike McFarland, to take notes during the building tours and report back to the board. All right. Any questions? Yeah, Jim? All right. I just said.
John,
There's no
are we settled on those dates?
I'm sorry.
Are we settled?
That's a question. I'm not, well, as I brought to the board, yeah, Marie?
Okay, just, I know several of us have rearranged our work schedules for this. I know that you go into the buildings on a regular basis. I know you had a recent conflict happen, but a lot of these principals have been preparing for this because they've been given this notice. I know that there's been other things ordered to accommodate us. And it is kind of short notice. I just feel like we should go follow through. I know Dr. Bonk is only going to be able to go with us for about half the day on the first day. But I mean, we do have Mr. Lokima, who is definitely a solid second to fill in, and Mr. Burrows is going to be there. So I just feel like we should follow through with where it's at this point.
I agree with that. Any objections to that, Jim?
Well, I kind of disagree. I think it's important for Dr. Bonk to be with the group to hear our concerns firsthand, and you as well, Mr. President. I don't see an issue with pushing it off a week or even two. I know that there's a regulation that we have to be shown the schools by a certain date, but I think we can push it off a week without going past that date.
Alberta, when is the last date that we can actually have building tours without meaning not following the law?
The statute doesn't give you a deadline. It's just within the school year.
Well, can I have all those in favor of going? I know a lot of people, they may schedule, they schedule that, you know, those building tours. Well, they took days off from work. So I'll let you.
Yeah, I took days off, but I'm going to switch it around because I would rather be there with Dr. Bonk and you and the entire group. I know another trustee or two had issues, so I'm willing to switch it around. I just think that we shouldn't do like small little ad hoc groups. We should be one board going and seeing it at the same time. That's just my opinion.
If I can just comment, Trustee Spencer, just so the board is aware, since it's been brought up, I have a very, very important meeting with the Dutchess County superintendents at that time, which is very, very important to ensure consistency among our districts. And then I have a very, very important meeting with the Dutchess County Department of Health as well, where we meet weekly and we have discussions as to public health issues of concern. So I really, really need to be at both of those meetings. And I'll leave it up to the board as to how they'd like to proceed.
I completely understand, Dr. Bachman. That's why I suggested moving it off to a day that you could be there and not, I just would want you to be there as well as Mr. Lumia.
Thank you.
And since we're bringing it up, was there anything that was ordered or the principals made any arrangements that couldn't be?
First day, that's the first day. There's food. There will be ordered. So, but that's not. I don't think that's a big problem to change the date. Go ahead, Peggy.
Are we talking about changing both dates or just one date? And I was also wondering how many people might find it impossible to do it the next week.
Me,
Well,
I can't do it the next week for sure.
I can share with you that I have meetings with the Department of Health and the county superintendents every Wednesday. So I need to be blocked off from about 11:30 until 2:30 to do that. I don't see that changing in the near future.
We should do it.
I can make the morning.
Different dates. Two different days of the week where you're not blocked. Maybe a Monday, a Tuesday, or maybe a Thursday and Friday. Thursday and Friday is probably better.
There's no way I can do a Friday.
Let's take a vote. Keep it as it is. How many people want to keep it as it is? Please raise your hands.
Can we do it? Can we split? I'd like to keep it the way it is, but if we have to, can we do one day this week and one day next week?
Well, obviously,
is that possible?
It's free Thursday. I'm not sure what the funeral arrangements are, so I really don't know. I can't commit myself to either day at this point. At least at the bunk, we'll be at Thursday, right? You can make it Thursday at the bunk.
I can make it Wednesday morning and I'm available all day Thursday. Again, those are two meetings I absolutely need to be at. based on what's happening throughout the county and throughout the district.
And Dr. Bog, in that case, could we instead keep it this Wednesday and Thursday,
up.
but have Thursday the full day and Wednesday the half day, so that it would accommodate you, your
That is
schedule?
absolutely fine with me. If the board would like to do that, I'm certainly fine with that.
That's fine. I think that's a good idea. So change the dates, full day Thursday, half day Wednesday. All those in favor of that, raise your hands, please. Keith,
Aye. Michael McFarland.
Michael, Carrie?
She
All right,
said
unanimous.
yes.
All right, unanimous.
Solomon like.
I would like-
Peggy, Solomon like.
I'm sorry?
I would
Very
like to
nice.
thank you. I'd like to thank you for making that change. Thank you very much.
Very nice, Peggy.
8.02, Mass Requirements Resolution. Peggy, if you can read it.
Whereas the New York State Department of Health, Commissioner issued findings of necessity on August 27th, 2021, requiring the universal masking of all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to pre-K through 12 schools over age 2, regardless of vaccination status, unless such individual has a valid medical exemption until such determination is modified or rescinded. And whereas the interim New York State Department of Health guidance for classroom instruction in pre-K through 12 schools during the 2021-2022 academic year, issued September 2nd, 2021, stated that the interim guidance does not apply to community-based activities where students are not present. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District believes it would be most prudent and most responsible in regard to its stewardship to the health and safety of the school community as a whole to extend the universal mask requirement to board meetings, committee meetings, and all indoor use of district facilities, especially since students are frequently in attendance at such meetings and activities, and directs that all board members and individuals who attend board meetings, committee meetings, and any other community-based activity held inside district facilities to wear a mask, face covering while physically present, except for those who have a valid medical exemption as documented by a medical provider.
Motion,
So moved.
second, I cannot hear. Second, Jim Spencer.
Michael,
Discussion. Marie,
All right. So I get that the governor has made these requirements of during school times and of anything that involves school activities. But the community, sometimes the community rents out our buildings. I know we have dance studios, etc., that rent out our buildings inside. Outside stuff, obviously, that doesn't count. I'm a little concerned that we might be imposing on other people's businesses based on a directive that was sent to us as a school district.
well, according to, if I may make a, go ahead, then just make a comment, then you can answer. According to the document that was provided to the Wappinger Central School District of the New York Department of State of Health, let me just read you one thing regarding masks. It says, in accordance with the commission determination issued pursuant to 10 New York CRR 2.60, all students, personnel, teachers, administrators, contractors, and visitors must wear masks at all times indoor, regardless of vaccination status. People with medical or developmental conditions that prevent them from wearing a mask may be exempted from mask requirements as documented by a medical provider. I can go on and on and on, but and so far extracurricular activity. I'm sorry, Marie.
I'm not arguing school-based
No, you are.
stuff. I'm talking about
People want to borrow or want to rent
our buildings. And the way this is written, somebody that rents our building for the dance studio to put on a recital, which is not part of our activities, All they do is they pay us a rental fee. And they pay the janitor fee for them to clean afterwards. So it's not ours, but the way this states is we dictate how they're doing it. So I'm just a
building.
little concerned. I mean,
It's
are we
our
going to
facility.
suspend all community rental of our property
Yeah.
until further notice?
No,
Is that what we
think-
do?
Don't those folks have the opportunity to rent somewhere else that don't have those stipulations?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, if they don't like it, they can go somewhere else.
Well, and they also have the option to comply.
Right, right, I agree.
Peggy?
Yes, our church has requirements for masks and vaccination. And yet all the groups which rent our facilities, including daycare centers, dance groups, a number of community organizations, they all comply with it. As long as children are not able to get vaccines yet, because they have not been approved for children, and children are in our buildings every day and participate with the activities afterwards, we have to be concerned about their health. We do not we cannot at this point require custodians to work extra shifts to do the complete sanitizing of areas that have been used. I know I hold Girl Scout events in the school buildings, and we're perfectly ready to comply with any of the requirements from the school district because we want our children to be safe.
Eddie? Eddie?
Sorry, hold on. No, I was unmuted. I'm just following up on my email. When it comes to any activities, I don't, as I stated in my email, they're not really of a concern. I do feel it's a bit of an overreach for community based activities. Yes, they could go someplace else. I get that. But, if they need to utilize the building, it can be their responsibility, for their event, whether they want someone to wear a mask or not. When it comes to cleaning, they could be charged an extra fee to cover if there's any additional cleaning that has to be done. Buildings are cleaned anyway over the weekend. I would say top to bottom. It shouldn't just be because the area was used or not used. If the buildings are scheduled to be fumigated and sprayed or whatever, that's the entire building. If there's no kids in the building on a Friday night or a Saturday, or if the PTA doesn't want to do a virtual meeting and they want to meet in the cafeteria and they don't want to sit there for an hour or two and they're vaccinated and they don't want to wear a mask and there's no children there, I don't see why we have to take that position. The guidance, we say we're going to follow the guidance changes. Now we're not following the guidance. I understand we're taking it a step further, and I get that completely. On any activity during school, after school, or at night that kids are in the building, I get that. If there's no kids in the building and someone is utilizing the building, we have some religious organizations that do some things, there's no children involved. We have PTA meetings, no children involved, and other types of activities. Who is going to supervise and monitor those events? You're going to put the burden on that particular group in the community. Someone shows up or comes, I don't want to wear a mask anymore. Who's forcing that person to leave that particular, event? Are we putting that onus on the person renting it out? What if the person doesn't want to leave? To me, we're complicated. We're losing a little bit of control from that standpoint because it's not an activity that involves the school district.
Okay.
So that's just where I feel personally it's a bit of an overreach for us to start dictating how those individuals should conduct themselves. That's just my opinion.
Peggy first, then Jim Spencer next. Peggy.
All right. Now, as I said, I hold Girl Scout events in Ketchum. And at the same time, we're having events there. There are also groups that extracurricular activities that are being held there. For instance, play rehearsals may be going on in the auditorium while I'm meeting with the students in the in the library, there may be a PTA meeting going on in the cafeteria. Are we to have different rules for with different groups of all meeting in the same building? Also, we do take the responsibility to enforce the school rules. In the library, it says very clearly, no food or drink. And so I make sure the girls do not eat snacks in the library when we meet in the library, and I do not chew gum, because that's the rule for that facility that we are using. Groups do this all the time. They accommodate to the facilities where they're working for the good of all. I remember when they first came out years ago with no smoking, and there were a lot of people who complained about not smoking in various places, but different facilities said no smoking, and so different groups had to comply when they were meeting in those facilities, whether or not some of their people smoked. I know this was actually an issue with certain groups where they had a lot of people who smoked a lot, but if they wanted to meet in that facility, they had to follow that rule.
Jim?
Before it became a law generally.
Jim?
Peggy took the words out of my mouth.
Okay. Well,
I agree with you, Peggy.
Carrie?
So I'm not a gambler, but I have family members that like sports and they gamble on things, and they take the under, they take the over sometimes. I guess this is the vernacular they use. I guess for me, what I'm wondering is, why are we taking the over, right? I mean, everything that we've always discussed has been cover our backs, fiduciary, liability, so on and so forth. It was mentioned, and not to call anyone out, but to follow the guidance, right? So follow the guidance. So why the overreach? Why the over? The virus lives for how long on a surface? Does it go around doors, outdoors, and through rooms? I haven't been on the board long, but I haven't seen many children attend the meetings. The other thing that we're not considering is if children were to attend the meetings, which again, I can't remember how many kids, they're with the family member that they don't put the mask on with anyway. They're in a space, they're 6, 10, 12 feet. And then if I could just kind of point out that Governor Hochul, she made the mandate, right? And she made the mandate during school hours and so on and so forth. And then she stood in a school building, if I could just reference that, no matter the vaccination status, regardless of the vaccination status, she stood with her crew over masked children. So there was conflict there. It's conflict with a rule and a mandate she made. And I think that what we need to consider here is seriously that overreach, but also how about it's time to try to listen to the community that's coming out. They're coming out. Why don't we, instead of overreaching, leave it where it is? And then we won't need sheriffs and marshals and all this kind of stuff. That animosity is building, that hostility is building because we're not appealing to that side, not even once. So follow the mandate and leave it be.
John?
I think Carrie is 100% right in pointing out in my opinion, the Hippocratic behavior of the governor to say that you shouldn't be around school children without having a mask on, no matter the vaccination status, and then to go ahead and have a picture taken without the mask on. I think she's absolutely right to do that. And that's why I think it's important for us to make sure that we are consistent and not being hypocrites. And I think the policy is flawed, and it begs for people to say, oh, so you can only get COVID when there's instruction going on, but then afterwards you can't. I think also as fiduciaries, the risk of there being a fine because I believe that if we do nothing, people that are vaccinated don't need to wear masks, but people that are unvaccinated are supposed to wear masks. And we put the burden on ourselves to try to differentiate who is who. And I don't think as a fiduciary, number one, we should expose ourselves to any fine, nor should we take on additional expense to allow people to use the building to try to enforce a policy that's difficult to enforce and that begs for confrontation to enforce? So I hate to sit here and say, oh, we should all be wearing masks and make it sound like I'm rah-rah about that, because I don't care to wear masks, but when I'm required to, I do. And I think we should be consistent 24 hours a day with how our buildings are treated. And we're required during school hours to be one way. And I think we should expand it to 24. And I support the resolution because it's more consistent than the governor's policy that seems to fly in the face of reason that, oh, during these hours, it's this way, and during those hours, it's that way.
I guess I just want to know, is it about control or is it about public safety? What is it really about? Bottom line.
Personally,
To me, I think it's about public safety.
I
We
think
do
about public safety, not control. I don't think it's a control issue. Look,
Right.
we
I
can
agree.
discuss,
I think it's
we can
about public safety.
discuss ultimately how many of us agree with the resolution as written. Please raise your hands.
Michael McFarland, aye.
John Lumia, aye. John Morgan, yes. Keith Odom, yes. Jim Spencer, yes. Peggy Kellen, yes. All those opposed, all the noes, please raise your hands. Carrie Kale, Eddie Schlesauer, and Marie Johnson. Resolution passes. Next item, 9.01. Board members may request additional agenda items, discussion items, or requests for information. Are there any requests?
So I think the meeting will be done in about 15 minutes.
What?
It's okay. Darren's mic is on by accident.
Okay, no problem. Seeing none, 9.02, motion to request. No, that's not necessary either. The 10.01, comments from public. Alberta?
Okay, I'm getting there. 1 second. Okay, this comment is from Yulina Zaus regarding an enrichment program. We would like to inquire about enrichment programs in elementary schools. Based on our experience, they simply don't exist. We understand that at one point, WCSD had enrichment teachers. So why did that program stop? What can the district offer to talented and gifted students during normal school hours? Also, why is there no policy on skipping grades? Traditional classroom enrichment is not enough for a gifted student.
Thank you.
Okay, give me a second to move on. The next one is from Maureen Stefano regarding start of year. Thank you. Dr. Bach and his staff have done a tremendous job getting our kids back in full-time this year. They have been very responsive to all of my questions about quarantining, and I appreciate all of their efforts and all of the teachers and staff at all of the schools. Our kids need to stay in schools, and they are doing everything they can to keep them in person full-time. Thank you to everyone. And the next comment is from Gordon Cook regarding health protection in the schools. Mr. Bach's statement that the school district is doing everything it can to protect our students is observably false. 15 cases in a week is not low spread of COVID. Given the population of the school community, that would clearly meet the criteria for high transmission. The school is not following recommendations and is failing even as some required protections. The district did not conduct mandatory testing of unvaccinated teachers and is not making a significant effort to make testing available to students. Windows of buses are not open. Students are sitting 8 to a table unmasked in cafeterias. Students are snacking and eating unmasked in classrooms at 3-foot spacing. Faculty and staff are not wearing masks in shared communal office spaces. Dutchess County is currently a high transmission area, and the district is not following recommendations regarding sports and extracurriculars during high spread conditions. It is obvious that the district is doing absolute minimum it can get away with. And that's the end of the public comment.
That being said, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the comments. And I'm sure that some of the first comment will be addressed by the superintendent, hopefully soon. With that being said, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
In favor? Raise your hands.
Aye.
Thank you very much for,
Michael McFarland.
thank you, everybody.